The Wests Tigers podcast is brought to you by the Wests Tigers Podcast Forum. Join the conversation today at weststigerspodcast.com.au.
If by my count it's right, 479 is the number of this West Tigers podcast, and climbing up towards that big 500. Nick's gone back in the time tunnel. He's found a little bit of merchandise from the late 2000s. What do we call those? The noughties, 2006 and or so, with Proton on the West Tigers jersey. Hello, Nick. You're really 20 years in the past when it comes to style and fashion.
Thank you very much. As Josh just mentioned just before you hit record, it is a bit cold tonight and it's a bit cool in my house. But I was thinking, what can I put on tonight? Like I've tried to pick something different out of my wardrobe, West Tigers related.
Yeah.
And I went deep into the cupboard, and there's a couple of old jackets from way back in the sort of 2005 onwards period. So I thought, pull out the old Proton coach's jacket, which I'm pretty sure I've seen Tim Sheens wear before. So. Repping Proton this evening, Joel.
Malaysia's finest car brand, and very much off the out of the Australian market nowadays. But did you guys ever drive a Proton?
I did not. Sorry, Josh, but I want to call him a mate. We had a bit of we had a bit of a fallout, but he had a Proton. Proton Satria, actually, nice little hot hatchback. But his wife crashed it, and I believe wrote it off. So that's the only Proton I've probably ever seen close enough to my sort of circle.
How about you, Josh?
Did not drive a Proton, Joel, but I thought about it. They had a little ute for sale when they were on. The Jumbuck. Yeah, I always thought a Jumbuck would go nicely when they were sponsoring the Tigers. I am from the country and I do like a ute, so I always thought that the Jumbuck would be a nice city option of that. So, but it never happened. So, and then they stopped sponsoring us, and I don't know they still exist here in Australia. So,
no, they don't.
No.
I had an evaluation Proton for 3 months, and I can't feel Evo or Evo. I can't remember what it was even called, but I remember it had red leather interior. That's
wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
What a shame you didn't keep it. That could have been a recording studio.
It could have. Yes, exactly. Let's get down to something a little bit more contemporary. Although we are going to go back in the archives a bit and talk about when it comes to the sugar hit signings. The signings that we've made through the West Tigers history that we all thought were going to be game changers. And it does stem out, this conversation does stem out of a conversation that they had over on the Other Guys podcast, which I don't know, is that exclusively West Tigers, Nick? You generally know these sorts of things, or do they talk rugby league in general?
Wouldn't have a clue.
Okay. Well, the Other Guys podcast,
podcast.
Josh is looking it up. They listed our 5 worst ever external signings, and we'll run through those. And I've got a few others, and a couple that I thought would be unfair to say that they were failures as big name signings. But geez, there's not too many. But should we start off with a look at this Warriors game, which is roaring up quickly on us Friday at 8:00? Josh, earlier in the year, we all thought when the West Tigers, after a couple of losses, travelled over to New Zealand, this is not going to be a pleasant evening. We were all pretty negative, and it was our best win of the season, I think. Can we replicate it on Friday, Mr. Optimistic?
Well, Joel, I am wearing the same jersey we wore, the multicultural jersey, just because it is Warriors round again coming up. Look, I mean, if I ignore and pretend the last couple of weeks didn't happen, it's at home. It's at Campbelltown. We have some players back. The squad's looking, if they're all fit and firing, the squad's looking fairly good. We've got our $1.2 million man back. We've got Samuel Afenu, who could well be our best player. I think our best player over the next few years. They're going to be missing Mitch Barnett. They've got James Fisher-Harris back, but it's his first game back from injury. I think he'll be a bit slow and injured. I think if I ignore the last couple of weeks, I reckon we're right in this. And surely we can't play as bad as we have the last 2 weeks. So boys are up for it, I reckon.
We are. Sorry, Dick.
Famous last words. Surely we can't play as bad as last week.
We are rank outsiders here, so we're not carrying any pressure of expectation. The Warriors $1.34 the last I looked, which is pretty red hot. But Nick, I think it's an important game for the club. I think it's at Campbelltown. I think it's really important that the team at least has a good dig.
It's a massive game, and exactly for that reason. Like we mentioned it a couple of nights ago after the post-game pod, but yeah, we're on a precipice, right? We either finish the season as strongly as possible and finish with some respect, or we lose all respect and go down the spiral that we look like we're heading the last few weeks, which potentially is going to end us exactly where we are on the ladder, points-wise, not position-wise. We'll only keep going further south, but it's massive. But maybe. Look, a lot of the media and a lot of us fans have written us off now for finals. I know I have. Some little weirdo in my head was telling me today, if we can beat the Warriors, maybe we're back in the race. But I had to shut that little that little voice down very quickly. But look, if we can finish strongly, we can leverage that and springboard into next season. But it is huge, but there's got to be a massive attitude change. Like Josh just mentioned, we've got Luai back, we've got Samuela back. Twally came back last week. Hopefully Samuela plays. I'm worried that he might be a late withdrawal, but we'll get him onto that starting field. But there has to be a massive attitude change if we're going to turn around our form.
Yeah, because I think the thing is, Josh, is that, now that a little bit of the heat's come out of that Dragons game and I'm able to look at it a little bit more, a little bit more holistically, I think from the start our attitude wasn't there. And I think the Dragons were, and that's something that you can hopefully turn back on, is get that attitude right to give yourself a chance. I don't think we ever gave ourselves a chance because we didn't turn up with the right attitude.
Yeah, we just didn't have the right energy and didn't have a right crack. And, we were still in the game because the Dragons are also a rubbish side, which probably makes it worse. So we asked it. Look, I mean, if we come with the right energy and come with the right attitude, then we can give it a crack. And I think, obviously we played them early in the year, so our style wise, we probably match up well. Obviously the big gap is in the number 9 position. That's the big concern as we go into this weekend. I mean, if you for all the fact we did lose last weekend, we're actually leading when Appy went off injured, and we were up 10-6 and we ended up losing. So they scored it was 18-0 in the 15 minutes that Appy was off the field. And that probably is a reflection of how it's been most weeks when Appy hasn't been on the field. So, I think that's a concern. But, boys got to come out with the right energy. Forwards have got to really have a crack. I think they were well out muscled by the Dragons last week. And that's where we need to really have a crack. So let's hope so.
Uppy's always a huge out, Josh. I just also wonder maybe this week, right? We've been known to lose to teams that we're expected to beat, and we're not unknown to then step up unusually against a much stronger team. We've also been pumped by much stronger teams, but I'm just wondering, maybe this week, I'm trying to find a glimmer of hope in there. Maybe we can find something and show up against the Warriors. I'd love the club to come out at Campbelltown and give the local Campbelltown fans something to go home happy about on a Friday night. That'd be a really nice way to start the weekend, West Tigers. So let's find some of that early season magic.
And I will say, the last time Appy didn't play was against the Gold Coast, and we had Lanyon, who started hooker, who's starting this week. We did win that game. He played a really good 50, 60 minutes and played really strongly. So we did manage to get through that game and win. It was at Leichhardt, but this is at Campbelltown. They're both our home grounds. We have to keep winning. So perhaps that's a sign that we can do it without Appy. Although, the history other than that game isn't particularly strong. So, but I've seen Jared Haywood's named in the number 22. I hear some rumours that he's gonna play off the bench. So, there's been a bit online and a few messages I've received. And you look at the New South Wales Cup side, which he's named in, but there's a lot of hookers on that bench. So perhaps that suggests he may get a start this week. So a start on the bench this week, which would be very exciting.
I've been sitting here, and at the back of my brain, I've remembered what sort of proton that was now. It was a proton Wira. It's amazing what sits back there. I haven't thought about that for years and years and years. I was a little bit surprised that Junior Tupu didn't get mentioned in the list anywhere. I thought that Junior was going to be. And interestingly, for the Warriors at number 21 is Luke Lalili.
Yeah.
So they're going to maybe potentially use their man. But Junior Tupu, Nick, I thought he'd get a run this week for sure.
Yeah, we spoke about this a couple of nights ago too. I thought he might be a pretty good chance. Makasini's been named again and in the centres. Whether that's where he lines up or not, I'm not sure. I don't like the idea of Makasini in the centres. And as we spoke about a couple of days ago as well, he's pretty buggered and pretty busted. So I'd rather see him get a rest or, take it easy down in Cup for a few weeks just to get some confidence back. But yeah, who knows what we'll see. Benji's been known to name one side and the team that runs out there have been a few positional changes. So we'll see what happens on Friday night.
It is a bit of a head scratcher, though, isn't it, Josh? It doesn't seem to. I can't seem to work out. Presuming that Junior Tupu is fully fit, I don't quite understand why we brought him back to the club because there was a thought that he was going to strengthen our back line, and then it gets here and he played well last week in New South Wales Cup. I don't know why you wouldn't run him.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and especially with the injuries to the guys in first grade who are clearly playing injured. I do wonder, it's 1 week in, he probably only got here at the end of last week. Maybe there's just not been enough time for him to kind of train with the boys and build up a connection. It'll be interesting to see as the season goes on, and depending on our form and fitness, when he does get a run. As I said, he definitely busted the line in New South Wales Cup last week. Look, I know, we all want Makasini to have a rest, and he hasn't been he's had some defensive challenges all year. I was looking though, the last 3 weeks he's made 100 meters against the Dolphins, 195 meters against the Knights, and 150 meters against the Dragons. So he's not totally shot. I mean, he's so.
A lot of those are just yardage carries, though.
They are, but at least he's he's really having a crack there. I mean, and maybe they've decided, they do want to get a bunch of experience into him, so when he comes back next year, he's gone through some tough times and he's managed to push through. Yeah, not so sure about Stafford though. I mean, he's been playing on the wing with one arm, playing well. Actually, I think he's probably played the best the last 3 weeks that he has all year, but he's still carrying that arm. So, as we said on Sunday, so many guys playing injured. I don't know. If you've got fresh, fit guys in New South Wales Cup, get fresh, fit guys on the field.
100%. And we've spoken about Sakuru, how he can't get a start in centre. He's in form and I don't believe he's injured. And you just mentioned we've got Makasini and Toa named in the centres and they're both carrying injuries and both not looking 100%. So why not bring someone in fresh? Just on start, Makasini's numbers for that Newcastle game, I think that was blown out a little bit because he made that 70, 80 metre break before he got run down by Ponga.
Yeah,
so that probably gave him a bit of a bump up in the numbers. But yeah, look, I mean, we're all hoping that Makasini can start to, I don't want to say live up to the hype because he's only a kid and it's only his first season and he's carrying injuries. So all that's and it's a long first grade season when you're 18 years old. So he's got a long road ahead of him, but we're all hoping that we can see some of those flashes of brilliance that we saw in the trials anyway. So I hope he can show us something, even for himself, before the end of the season, just to give himself a bit more confidence.
I've got a positive and a negative. I'll throw the positive out there. The Warriors have only won 2 of their last 5. Of course, we've only won 1 of our last 5. So, they're not setting the world on fire. And a couple of times they've struggled to score some points in those losses. So that's something to keep in mind. But I think a negative is our bench. Josh, not a lot of thrust there. Seyfarth, Suka, Latu, Tavana, Murray and Pole being the only sort of recognised prop there. Against the Warriors, that has me worried.
Yeah, I mean, Pole's been showing quite a lot off the bench. I think he's been impressive. But you're right. I don't think there's a great deal else. I mean, you'd expect that Samuela won't play a full 80 in his first game back. So that's why Suka is there. Seyfarth will share some 12 minutes and probably the 10 minutes or 15 minutes Terrell's off. But none of them are striking much fear into you off the bench. And whereas the Warriors historically, and I look over their side and I don't know them that well, but Munga I've seen a couple of times. He puts an effort in. Murata Niokore is obviously makes a real impact off the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. I kind of think our top 13, given what we have is especially if they're all fit, I'm reasonably happy with, but it does drop off fairly quickly on that bench. So, but hopefully Haywood is added and comes on and blitzes them from dummy half.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. I think we need a little bit more spark. Looking at that bench, I really hope Latu is just not used as in that hooking role. Maybe a bit contentious, but at this stage of the season and the way we've been going in recent weeks, honestly, I would probably bring Latu in maybe for a little bit of opportunity to help out Jasesi at times, but I'd bring him in while Jasesi's on the field, and maybe Twali can go into the middle rotation and Latu can sit out there and lock and ball play a bit and run. Use him as a third half if needed, because I think we need to see the other side of Latu's game, that halves type of game that we haven't been seeing, and what we've seen in Cup, or I've seen in highlights anyway, which is his natural game. He's not a hooker. Like, I'm sick of seeing him just following the ruck and distributing, out to first receiver all the time. Like, it's watching my under 10s play. Like, okay, clear the ruck. Okay, throw the ball out. Good. That's your job done. Like, follow, He's not the type of player, and he's too good to be doing that. But I'd like to see him used a bit differently this week.
No Madden, of course. Luai is back. We've got Luai and Dewey together in the halves. I think this is a game where if we're going to have any chance, it does fall on our 7, our 6, and our 1. Obviously, we can't castigate Luai for last week. He was poor against the Knights, and Dewey wasn't there against the Knights. But it is nice to see that combination back, and I think that's a reason to be optimistic. But Buller, I think, we've got to get a little bit more out of Buller as well. That was I thought a particularly disappointing game against the Dragons. Safe under the ball, of course, but we desperately need him to find some gaps to use that speed, and he's well targeted, but we've got to come up with a strategy to try and get him into the game a little bit more. I don't think the Warriors. I'm less worried about the Warriors than I was earlier in the year. I think this is the kind of game, as you were referencing, Nick, where the ambush could be on, where the West Tigers come out and the attitude is right, and they want to send a message, and they manage to. Stranger things have happened. The Tigers have been able to graft out a tough win. It'll be greasy, and it'll be it's been fairly wet in Sydney. So, I don't think that's necessarily an advantage to us. But I think this is the kind of game that traditionally West Tigers have come out and gone against the trend.
And maybe now that the media and everybody is talking about how the Tigers have blown it and the season's over and they won't make the finals, maybe that's enough to just ease the pressure a little bit, release that valve, and maybe that'll free us up a bit. I'd like to see us play a bit more free-flowing footy too, like we did at the start of the year. I actually don't care about the offloads. If Terrell wants to throw 100 offloads, go for it, because what we've been doing the last few weeks isn't doing us any favours. Like, we are a stale football team.
Yeah, I think that's
no Taylor ball, please. Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. Like, I think what I'm after this weekend is we just come out and actually to have a crack. Like, the forwards start to offload a bit more. The guys try to hit some lines on the edges and actually charge through. None of this side to side in the 20. None of this one out hit ups up the field. I mean, there can be some of that, but it's we have to our good play this season was made on offloads and passing the ball and forwards interconnecting and and we have to get the ball to. Luai was Sam Weller on that edge there. Like that was probably our key part of the field early in the year. Get the ball out to him. It's his first game back. He's got to be fit to be out there. We really need to just have a bit of a crack. We literally don't have much to lose now, especially against the Warriors, and it's at home. Honestly, energy and effort and charging through, not just going through the motions like we have the last couple of weeks.
So when I look at that team, just going back to that earlier point, I think there's a good chance Haywood is going to debut. Do you start him, or do you put? I know Lanion's only played, I think, 2 first-grade games, so it's not a huge amount of difference. But do you start Haywood against the Warriors? That's a big call as well. Or do you start with Lanyon and run him off the bench? Yeah,
bench.
I'd start with Lanyon because he's a bit bigger, a bit more solid. He looks good defensively. Has played a bit of. He played back row and lock as well.
Back row in the under 21, under 20. So,
so I think he can handle the middle. Probably better than what Haywood can. I haven't seen Haywood apart from highlights, since the early season trials, but He's still only a kid himself, and he's quite lean, but he's got a hell of a lot of skill, and that's what I'm really excited to see if he does get a crack. And I mean, the game isn't slow anymore, and there's not many slow periods in the game. But if we can get him at the right time off the bench, and just say, go on and play your game, just play what's in front of you. Don't be afraid to run. Don't be afraid to create. I'd love to see it.
And watching him I've watched quite a bit of him in Cup and in Flag over the last year and a half, and like he's very good running, has good deception. In Cup this year, he's kind of come off the bench after the first 20, like they've been doing that in Cup. He hasn't been starting, but he's come on and played 60 after the first 20. So that's kind of how they've been setting that up. But what he does do is his passing is beautiful. Like he puts every player is catching the ball out in front, right on the spot. You even look when even Appy's passing is not elite. Haywood's passing in the juniors and New South Wales Cup at least is like that's his absolute strength is when he's hitting blokes is they're all running onto the ball, they're all getting the ball in the right spot, and that makes such a difference to your momentum. I think we saw last week when Lanyon came on, and I quite like him, but it was just a little, the ball's not quite in the right spot, and it's not, and that makes a huge difference to to all your forwards and backs and how we're kind of progressing that play, because you can't be waiting for the ball in the wrong spot.
It's funny, that like the game has changed over the years, but the specialist hooker is still the specialist hooker. And it's hard to put anybody but a specialist hooker and then not suffer some consequences. And if you look at the really good hookers, how they get the players onto the ball, and then you look at the guys that can throw a pass but just aren't at that same level, it is really noticeable. What about Bunty? I mean, surely he'd be primed for a big game against his former club. Nick, I reckon that's going to be something. But I'm also concerned that Luke Leilili is there and, we'll be part of the Warriors team and we'll score some important try or something just to haunt us.
He might. I don't know if Luke will get a run. I know he's named on what's he number 21. Yeah, so it's going to be odd for him too. He was only at the club a couple of weeks ago, and he's back at Campbelltown against his old club. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Probably just flying him in so he can pick up all his stuff that he had to leave. Campbelltown.
Quite possibly. Yeah, I left some boots at Campbelltown.
Yeah, that's it.
Come along, but no, Bunty will.
He's getting paid in frequent flyer points.
Yeah, quite possibly. But Bunty's going to have, hopefully, have a big game. But no doubt he's going to have a lot of friends and family there. Probably some that are travelling over from NZ as well, because I imagine that he's left behind quite a number of friends and family in New Zealand. So no doubt the Warriors are going to have a big following out of Campbelltown, and hopefully backfence Bunty is at his best, and just letting the Warriors know that he's still got it, even though he's over this side of the ditch over in at Concord at the moment.
Any predictions?
You don't want to hear mine. Josh is having. I'll go first because Josh is having a think, but I'm going to stick to my prophecy that I had on Sunday evening off the back of the ugly defeat to the worst side in the competition, the Dragons. I did say we're going to lose by 50, so I'm not going to stray away from that. I hope I'm very wrong. I really do. I'd love to eat my words, but I'm going to say I think we'll be a little better, but I still think we're going to struggle. I'm going to say, and because I've said 50, that's a huge deficit. I've got to stick. I'm going to go 60-10.
Wow. Jeez. It reminds me of, remember in Rocky 3 with Mr. T? We're going way back here. And, they asked him what his prediction was for the upcoming match with Rocky. And he said, pain. In other words, pain is what you're predicting. And the other thing I should clarify too is that we keep saying things like Taylor Ball, but he hasn't coached here for like 12 years. And there's probably a lot of people that listen to us that wouldn't know Jason Taylor if they fell over him, let alone that he coached the team.
They don't need to know who Jason
as we
Taylor
get older,
is.
We've got to fill in the blanks. But he was an old, not very successful, not very well-liked coach of the West Tigers. Josh?
Look, I'm trying to be positive, and Warriors the Warriors haven't had a great run, although the teams they've lost to are probably better than the team they're playing this weekend, sadly. But I'm still gonna, Campbelltown, the boys are going to really put in for the home ground. They've they lost the last one to the Dolphins, but Dolphins are in better form than the Warriors have been. 26-18 to the Tigers. I think we're gonna, I think we've had a soft 2 weeks. Benji will have. I was going to say into them at training. Actually, you know what I hope they've done at training this week is taken a few sessions off, gone out for some beers, played a bit of mini golf, just kind of, got the vibe back. So I'm hoping Benji's done that this week. And 26-18 to the Tigers. I think we're going to freshen it up.
Friday afternoon beers, do you think, before kickoff?
Just loosen them up a bit.
Yeah.
At 3 o'clock.
Just one or two, not heaps, Nick. You got to play at 8. Just go out for a couple at lunchtime. Yeah.
We've scored 16 points in 160 minutes of football. 16 points, even in this game, is not going to be enough. We're going to have to score at least more than 20, and we're going to have to restrict them to no more than 20. But I'm not that dissimilar to you, Josh. I think we stand a chance. So I'm going to go 24-22 to the West Tigers. Just a feeling that I feel like the ambush is on.
There you go.
I'm just going to say that all three of us being positive is not working. So I'm sticking with the negative. I'm hoping that imbalance maybe throws a bit of luck our way. So right now I'm going to say we're going to get smashed.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong.
Okay. Well, we'll wait and see. We will talk about it. The Other Guys podcast, they mentioned the 5 worst ever West Tigers signings. Now, basically, I think where they were coming at with this was that 5 guys that we went out, we spent a lot of money on and had a lot of big expectations on. Guys that we thought were going to come in and make a big impact and turn things around and make everything okay. And all 5 of them ended up being duds, complete and utter duds. And we'll go through the list. I'll run through them. They had Ben Madalino at number 5, and then John Bateman. Josh Reynolds. Ben Reynolds. There's a blast from the past. Josh Reynolds. Ben Reynolds definitely wasn't a high paid recruit from Penrith in 2003. Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds. My favourite Burt Reynolds movie is called The End. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
No.
Him and Dom DeLuise. Yeah, it's a very good movie. Josh Reynolds, Adam Blair, and Braith and Astor. I'm surprised Braith came in at number 1 because I don't think we paid huge amounts of money for Braith. He was right at the end of his career. But you can sort of see where they're going with this. I'd have Adam Blair and John Bateman up in 1 and 2 myself, and definitely Reynolds in 3, given the amount of money we paid for them.
I'd like to defend Ben Madalino. I think that is very, very harsh. He played 36 games for us, and we won half those games. Imagine a Tigers team that won half their games. Can you even remember? Like, I can't remember us winning half our games. In 2018 and 2019, while he was playing, we won half our games.
He was busted too, which is not his fault.
His knee.
Yeah. Then he was medically retired, so we got the payout. The bloke he arrived with at the same time in the front row, not getting a call out. Russell Packer, who didn't retire, stayed on and took every single cent from us for the full 4 or 5 years. I think Ben Madalino was harshly treated to be in that list.
Okay.
Yeah, Ben Madalino was busted. Russell Packer, he came to us from the Dragons, right? I remember his stint at the Dragons. At the time, he was the form prop in the comp. He was just destroying the opposition every game that he played. And he had massive expectations when he came over to our club. And like a few others before him that you've already mentioned, Joel, didn't deliver.
Yeah, the Teddy Blair. The Blair Switch project.
That to me, though, says a lot about, yes, Adam Blair didn't, he played a lot of game, but didn't deliver for us. But he delivered at every club he was at before and every club he was at after. So that probably suggests the issue was not Adam Blair, but the club. That was West Tigers with the issue. I'm not saying he played great, but it's not like he left us. A lot of these guys left us and their careers kind of disappeared. He went on to play another 150 games and win premierships and play for New Zealand. And it's probably a reflection of where this club's been and why we haven't made the finals in 15 years, that we can't get the best out of some of these guys. Josh Reynolds, on the other hand, lovely guy, but that was a waste of money. Him and Moses Mbai.
Well, you can't say that Josh didn't try. He did put in he did put in whenever he could, but he had so many injuries.
The worst part, not just about the failed on-field performances from Josh Reynolds at West Tigers, but the worst thing for me is when he left and he went back to the Bulldogs on a reserve grade contract. He publicly said, "I wish I had never left the place," and that just rubs salt into the wound of every West Tigers fan. That's just a bit of an ugly way to leave a club,
I think that's more about his love for Canterbury than anything against the West Tigers, but
I know, but have a think about the words that are coming out of your mouth, A bit like when Uppy was, many, many, many dozens of drinks deep after that last grand final when he said, he was going to go to the West Tigers and win a ring there, and he gave the old raspberry.
He wasn't wrong, was he? Happy to be
fair.
That seems fairly accurate. Yeah, that's it. So maybe he was just being honest.
His word.
That's it.
I think Josh is a lovely guy, but I don't think he attends Mensa meetings, so I wouldn't be taking too much about what Josh Reynolds says about anything. I've got a few guys here that look are probably marginal in terms of being star players, but they're sort of guys that have been around rep footy a little bit, or they've achieved some success somewhere else when they came. Scott Prince is definitely in the we got something great out of Scott Prince, but he also was he'd had broken legs and a lot of injuries. He wasn't he played Origin, of course, when he came to us, but I think Prince goes in the category of being a good buy. Paul Fatawira, of course, as well, a different category, not quite a star player. Lottie was a good signing, and then not so good. I've got sort of mid-tier, Mbai, who, he had a couple of decent games.
Probably past his best, and he played in a few different positions. I think he played fullback. I think he played hooker. Did he play at 7 for us as well? He played all over the place.
I mean, it's better than Josh Reynolds, but it wasn't. I don't think that's a high point. I imagine Zembo was.
Well, I've got him borderline. Yeah. He's not as bad as the other. Well, 4. Yeah. We'll give Madalena a bit of a pass mark. So these are guys that get he gets a partial pass mark. These guys don't get a partial pass mark, but they're not terrible. No, well, actually, Josh Papali would fall. Isaiah Papali would fall into we got something out of him, but he didn't quite deliver what we thought he was going to deliver. And then down the bottom of the list, I've got Joey Leilua. I've got Jackson Hastings. And I've got the question, where will history judge Jerome Luai in all of this?
It depends on what happens next season.
And for the rest of this one.
Correct. He's an interesting one. You've said a few times, Joel, that you don't think he'll be here next year, and I've sort of written that off. But I've heard a few other people talk about that. Maybe they've been listening to you. I know a lot of high-profile West Tigers related people listen to this podcast, so maybe it's
shout out to you all. Yeah,
big hello to everybody that's stealing our thoughts. In this case, Joel's. But look, I said a couple of nights ago, I think Jerome is too stubborn to leave. I think he's too loyal to Benji. I think he'll give it another crack next season. I hope he does anyway. I think this weekend's a big telling point to see what sort of attitude he turns up with, because we need a lift. And he has been paid that money to lift this club. He's done it in the preseason. He's done it by all reports off the field during the year, but he needs to do it on the field, especially when we're down in the dumps, which is right now. So it's time for Romy to stand up and deliver.
I think what we've got to learn from all of these names that we've gone through, and we've got to think about this moving forward, is nobody that we've paid a lot of money for and had big expectations on has really ever delivered. Okay, we're not going to fix this problem with a sugar hit, with a buying some guy from outside. But if we do pay good money for somebody, we've got to make sure it's the right person that can deliver consistently and not be a flash in the pan sort of guy. I'm not saying that Jerome Luai is, but you have to factor in with Jerome Luai, I think, a bit, Josh, the team that he was in and the circumstances with which, and I don't mean to take anything away from him. Geez, 4 premierships, it's unbelievable. But if he'd been playing for the Titans, Jerome Luai is not going to be Jerome Luai.
No, I think that's fair and clear. And I think you could probably say that about not all, but most of the guys at the Panthers side, like being in a side with, I would say Isaiah Yeo and Nathan Cleary are the two kind of keys there, and they had a good side around them. Look, I think whatever Jerome did, we were coming off 3 wooden spoons. Yep. So if I look at that way, most clubs off 3, like the previous 3 years, we'd come last. So, it got us out of the bottom 4 last year. We'll see where we finish this year, but there are obviously positive signs. He's brought a bunch of players to the club. He's brought a new attitude to the club. I think, obviously the last 2 weeks are probably a bad time for us to be this. I think he's done a lot, and on the field, I think he's not going to have been it's not going to be as good at Penrith because he's not surrounded by the same level. But he's helped lifted the quality, and sometimes like they often talk at Souths about Roy Asatasi when they signed him, and he probably on the field it wasn't amazing, but it changed how people perceived the club. Like the fact that we're able to sign guys and not overpay them now, and we've got guys like Kai Pearce-Paul and the Mays and things that we have signed since, and Jake Averillo for next year. I don't think that quality of player at a reasonable price comes to our club without Jerome Luai coming to our club. I mean, that's the reason the Chiefs have signed him, for that same thing. It brings, he brings a certain attitude and cachet, and I think, even on the field, like he brings an energy, even when he's not creating tries, he brings, in defense, like his defense the last few weeks, even when he hasn't been doing stuff, like against Newcastle, he wasn't in sets up, the attack was boring, but he made a lot of, great tackles on that edge, and that's, as we've seen with Jock Madden, that's not always the case for halves, and we see with lots of halves. So, but to your question, how we remembered, it does depend on how it finishes over the next year and a half, because it's not a 5-year anymore; it's a 3-year, and so it'll depend on how that finishes, especially next year. Where do we end up at the end of his tenure? So, I
think the important thing is that we always have our expectations were too high on him as well. Yeah, that's the point with all of these guys, or not all of these, but a lot of these guys, is that we have these expectations as fans that this is going to be the guy that just makes everything okay.
Gareth Ellis is what you're saying. That every one of them is going to be Gareth Ellis.
Yeah,
that's the one that worked.
Exactly.
That's the one that did.
Here's my list of the guys that did. Hodgson, who was playing State of Origin, wasn't a superstar player when we signed him, but certainly was a very well respected fullback who had that couple of years with the Eels. Gareth Ellis and Appy. I mean, we've got to put Appy in there as being a success for the club. Yeah, so
not much else is there over 26 years. I was trying to think of this earlier, and I couldn't come up with. That was probably the list I came up with too, Joel. I couldn't. There was much else. So
yeah,
there's one. I won't say he's a signing from another club, but he did come from another club, and he actually came back from another club. Is when Benji returned in 2018 from the Broncos. I remember being on the golf course when it came over my feed. I think I got a news headline that Benji Marshall had signed to come back to West Tigers, and I was over the moon. Like I couldn't believe that he was finally coming back to where it all started and where he shouldn't have left in the first place. So that was a bit of magic. We didn't make finals, and we haven't made finals even before that.
Finals.
Yeah, I know what a finals. Yeah. But he brought back a little bit of magic and hope, which still lives on through his coaching. Although at times, like at present, we all start to scratch our heads and wonder if we've made the right decision. But
there were two others from that kind of 2010, 2011 kind of side that probably were signings that did work out. I was just having a look back. Lottie Takiri obviously came in off the Wallabies, and I think he had a great few years there. And then one of my favourites, Big Keithy Galloway, came from the Sharks, ended up an Origin prop, took us to the finals in the front row a couple of times. Those are, and he was on decent money. I think those are two. We had a period there where we were signing the right kind of guys. In 2005, there was some Todd Payton, probably the other one, back then. So, but it hasn't made much
first
sense.
Graders, but and that's who we need to keep buying. Is we need to keep buying the Shane Elfords, the Pat Richards, the guys that are good, consistent NRL players, but avoid the sugar hits. Avoid the this is going to be the one that changes it around. Yeah.
Josh, have you seen Keith Galloway lately? He is bigger and fitter than he was when he was playing NRL.
Man's a machine.
He is an absolute beast. I love big beast West Tigers players, and Keithy, I still follow you, mate. You're looking the goods.
He's a legend. Possibly my favourite Tigers player of ever, quite perhaps. I really enjoyed Big Keithy's time charging up the middle with the red hair. And
what about the obsession with Phil Gould and Keith?
That was part of it too. Just the excitement.
He could give us 15 minutes on Friday night at Campbelltown, couldn't he?
Mate, get him off the bench.
Yeah. He'd still create some carnage. I'd love to see Big Keithy running out there on Friday night.
Alrighty, guys. A few other names that just come to mind. Sam Harris. He came big expectations and never did much. There's been so many. Michael Butner, guys that you think, this guy's going to have the key to fix it all. And anyway, John Simon.
Way back.
Jared McCracken. And I love Jared.
That was
McCracken
unlucky,
as a
Jared.
player, but that was unlucky.
Extremely unlucky.
I mean, I think we were second in the comp, weren't we, when he got?
If he doesn't
went
get that
down.
injury, we are having a different conversation tonight, I think.
He was holding those crazies together at that time.
Yeah.
Like that, the rest of that side, for all the niceness, was filled with a bit of insanity. You know, they'd signed a lot of blokes to, were very talented in the footy, but not so talented off the field. He was holding that together, and when he got injured, it all just fell apart in 2000. So yeah.
He was a fantastic player, and I was one of my all-time favorite signings, and the way that ended up was just
devastating,
disappointing.
Yeah.
Thank you, boys. Enjoy Friday night. Hope it's a lot more enjoyable than what Nick's predicting. I hope Josh and I are closer to being right. And we'll see you on the West Tigers podcast forum, and lots of comments too on the latest YouTube videos as well. So keep those coming through, and we'll see you for a post-game edition Sunday night, maybe.
Can't wait. Thanks, boys.
Thanks, guys.